Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. It's Rosalie Reese here. First off, we're gonna ignore this, okay? I got myself bangs again, okay, and I cut my hair super short. It's all gone. We're just gonna gloss over that. We won't discuss it unless it comes up again, but we'll there isn't really a story time. It's not. I just sat in the chair 5 minutes. I was like, I'm cutting it all off, okay? Maybe I just have no impulse control. We already know about this. This is just me reinforcing that fact, okay? Second off, this video is coming to you a little bit crazy. Not really. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyways, this video, I knew I wanted to record, but I didn't know what to record. So I just wanted to try to get back into reading again. I haven't really been attempting to do any of that because I have been on and off just not wanting to read, haven't wanted to read at all because I'm in a huge book slump. However, I was like, what would be a good idea to try to get myself out of that book slump? So I was like, okay, well, we can try to read old favorites, bring them back into the circle, okay? So I have ordered 3 books that I used to love in middle school. I used to go to the public library all the time after school, and I would get these 3 books that I absolutely loved, okay? This first book that I'm going to read, I've read it 8 times. This will be my 9th time reading it, but I haven't read it in years, keep in mind. The last time I read it, I was a freshman in high school, and before that, it was all middle school years that I read it. But I absolutely adore this book. It was kind of the absolute starting point of me reading. Because I've always been into reading, of course, but this was really when I was like, I absolutely need to just keep going. I love this story so much to a point that it's cemented itself in my life, and I think about it often. I just haven't read it in a very long time, okay? But this story has absolutely shaped my reading journey, I would say, because it's the start, all right? I am going to be reading first Where the Stars Still Shine by Trish Dollar. Now, this book is a whole story about this girl named Callie. She and her mom are on the run, essentially. They move places every once in a while. Her mom tries to not stay in one place for more than a time. Callie is just a little girl, so she doesn't realize this is all going on. However, she is pulled over one night, the mom with Callie in the car, and essentially Callie finds out that her mom's been kidnapping her all her life. And so basically her mom gets arrested. The cops take her back to her father's side of the family, and she has to adjust to this new life because obviously she grew up not knowing she had a family like this. She only knew her mom her whole life. She didn't know a lot of things, right? So it's basically just coming together, finding family and stuff like that, and trying to learn how to be happy on her own without her mother kind of manipulating her decisions. And it's just a big journey of self-discovery. And I really love this book. I really do. It is why I really do suggest reading it if you like those types of books. I will give you the synopsis right now, but I essentially just gave you like the big beginning. It's all written in the summary, everything that I've told you. So it is not spoiling anything, okay? Stolen as a child from her family and on the run with her mom for more than 10 years, Callie has only the barest idea of what normal life might be like. But after Callie's mom is finally arrested for kidnapping her and Callie's dad whisks her back to what would have been her life, she must find a way to leave the past behind. She must learn to be a part of a family, and she must believe that love is more than just a possibility. By turns heartbreaking and hopeful, the sweet and sexy romance offers a whole new take on happily ever after. Now, it says romance. However, I feel like this book does the romance in a way where the romance isn't the whole part of the story. Okay, so it's not fully focusing on that. Okay, it's more focused on Callie, her life essentially, and I liked that about it at the time too. But yeah, I rated this 5 stars when I was in middle school, and it stayed that way throughout the years. So we're gonna see if I still feel the same way about this one, which will be the first one that I read. Haven't got the others in the mail yet, and this video will not have a time limit. I'm not trying to force myself to finish this in like a day or two, because I really just want to enjoy the reading and read the books at my own pace because of the fact that I'm in the slump right now. So I'm probably going to end up starting this tomorrow because I do have work in like less than an hour. So I'm just filming the intro. I will let you guys know when I start it. I'm really excited to get into this though, because I love the story and I feel like you guys would love the story too if you guys read it. It's a short read, really. It's like, I'm about to find out how many pages. 336. Yeah, 336 pages. And, you know, I just love it. I love this story. And just holding this, like, gives me, like, really, like, nostalgic feelings. Because, like, when I read it, it was a paperback, okay? And it had, like, the clear plastic cover on the front. But just looking at the cover gives me, like, nostalgia. If I would have found, like, the hardcover version with the clear plastic cover, I would have been done for, okay? Like, I would have been like, oh my god, this is it. But I'm just super excited that I own this book at this point right now, because it really did, like, create a sense of safety for me, because I just really love this book so much. Yeah. Anyways, I am gonna finish getting ready for work, and I will talk to you guys when I start it. Guys, so I'm officially over 50% of the way through of Where the Stars Still Shine. So far, here are my thoughts. I can relate to this book more so than I remember relating to it when I was younger. I can relate more to it now in terms of the situation with the mom. Not necessarily in a sort of, well, I guess somewhat, running away aspect, but no, more so her mom has borderline personality disorder. So my mom also has borderline personality disorder. I recognize the impulsiveness that both of these fictional and real people have. So it's more so of a thing that now I relate to it a little bit more, because I recognize the things that they're going through, recognizing because of familiarity as well. Running away, that aspect I can relate to slightly, not in the same aspect or situation that this characters have, but in more so of a way of like, oh, my mother was in an abusive relationship for over a decade, and we ran from that state to state. So I can relate it to that in a sense. So I feel close to the character Callie, Callista, whatever you want to call her, one of her names. So I can relate it to that aspect. This book is more fast-paced than I remember, and honestly, I'm not upset at it, because I didn't know how I was going to feel going into it, considering I read the story so many times, and I just didn't know if I was going to like going through that whole process again. But I am enjoying the storyline. My only thing is, I'm thinking on the stuff that I know is going to happen, and my mind just keeps going past that point, past that point, past that point. And I'm also just taking the time to also think about the stuff that has happened and what are some clues that are foreshadowing the ending. And just to give you guys like an update, it does have romance, okay? This is marketed a little bit as a full romance. However, I don't think the romance is the focus as well. At the same point, this book, spoiler alert, does not necessarily have a happy ending in terms of the romance that it has. It's more so about finding oneself, finding who your real family are, finding the people that actually care for you. Okay? It's not necessarily focused on the romance the whole time, which, again, not upset over, because I feel like I needed a book like that. And also, like, I was curious. I went back and I read reviews of this book, most of them highly reviewed. I love this book. The only issue that people saw when not liking this book was the characteristics of the main character, okay? And yes, I understand that. Okay, Callie raised all her life never to one home. She was moved all around motels. Her mom's always had abusive boyfriends. They're always running constantly. She's never known one place for quite too long. Therefore, it's learned behavior, obviously, that she leaves when something's bothering her. And not leaves for good, she always comes back, but she does wander off. And also the fact that she doesn't necessarily let herself get close to anybody here, that's a part of this new life that she's trying to get adjusted to, because of the fact that she's used to leaving everywhere. And honestly, yes, I do get that. Other people don't get that, from what I read in the reviews. But of course, you've never been in that situation. You're never going to know how people are going to handle things differently. And of course, everybody reacts differently than other people do, because we are not one person. We do not share the same emotions. So I do see where Callista's coming from. However, it is not healthy. But at the same point, she doesn't know these people, so you kind of have to understand that as well. Overall, complex characters in terms of Callista, as well as like the other family members you'll learn, all have complicated relationships. And some of the characters are more annoying than I remember, honestly. Katerina, which comes to be one of Callista's friends, when she pretty much her whole life is rooted to Tarpon Springs in Florida. So she gets there, she makes friends with this girl named Katerina, Kat. And Katerina's just annoying. Okay? That girl, she's annoying. I will say that. I do not really care for the friend. Which I don't really remember having any feelings for the friend upon my first reads of it. However, now that I'm rereading, I'm kind of just like, eh. Because some of the way she treats Callista is kind of like, ugh. It's just giving me bad vibes. Like, it's not giving friendship. It's giving wanting to own somebody's feelings and emotions, trying to kind of treat them more so as your pet, not as a human being on oneself. And I'll, at the end, come in to talk to you about that again later, because of the fact that I don't want to give spoilers right now if you have not read the book, because I do think everybody should read this book at least once, simply because of the content material and the just the whole theme of it in general. But yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna go back to reading. I'm on chapter 14. There's about 20 something chapters. 24 chapters. So I've got 10 chapters left, about 136 pages left. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to reading. That is my full halfway thoughts. The other thing that pisses me off, okay, so we have some of our characters, okay? Georgia, pissing me off right now, which is Callie's grandmother, and then you have Alex, the guy that Callie ends up seeing, and then Evgena, Alex's mother. Okay, so Georgia, again, Callie's grandmother, is convincing Callie to convince Alex to go see his mother, Evgena. But the way that she does it is crazy. Okay, so Evgena, I think that's how you say her name, she is dying. She doesn't have a long time left. And Alex pushes away from his mother simply because of the fact that he knows she's going to die and he does not want to be around for that part. He just kind of wants to let it slowly. He is detaching from his feelings. And it's unhealthy, yes. However, you also have to respect his wishes. That is a grown man. So Georgia is kind of blackmailing Callie a little bit into convincing Alex to go see his mother. Now, I don't understand why you're bringing a 17-year-old girl into the situation and blackmailing her into convincing this guy to go see his mother. He is a grown man. He should be able to make his own decisions. And also, Callie is a 17-year-old girl, has been kidnapped all her life, and you're blackmailing her into... It just pisses me off. It really does. Like, I'm like, no. And I remember this irritating me the first time that I read this book, too. But at the same point, I liked the story enough that I was just like, ugh. This whole scene rubs me the wrong way. I just got to the part where essentially Callie's like, no, I'm not going to do that. But at the same time, Georgia is kind of just like, well, it's going to happen anyway, so you might as well just do it. And I'm like, I get perspectives. Okay, I'm looking around at all the perspectives, right? At the same time, I just can't let go of the fact that Callie is a 17-year-old girl and you're blackmailing her into doing this for you. It's not for me. It's not. And mostly because this is the reason why we don't get a happy ending, essentially. This is pretty much the reason why we don't get a happy ending, essentially. And also just because Alex is his own person. I just don't get it. Okay. Anyways, I'm going to keep reading. I just wanted to bring that up.
The next day.
Okay, guys, so yesterday I finished Where the Stars Still Shine by Trish Dollar. I'm gonna end up rating it a 3.75, which is a big drastic difference compared to my 5 stars from when I was a literal child. But I've read a lot of books since then, and I've read better things. I know what I like better. I still liked this. I just have a lot more experience when it comes to books since then of me reading this one. So while I appreciate the main character's flaws as well as the story and the interpretation being realistic of how it feels to go through a sort of Stockholm syndrome situation because you're so connected to the person who's kidnapped you, you feel as though they are all that you have and that you need to protect them. I appreciate that. I appreciate the fact of the matter that the characters all have their own flaws. Not one character is perfect. Okay. All of these characters, I feel, are pretty three-dimensional and not just a round character. Yeah, baby. However, some of those characters were annoying, like Katerina and Georgia, and were kind of just annoying. The romance is good, but I wouldn't go into this thinking that it is a romance. I would go into it knowing that it is a side plot. It's not necessarily the whole point of the story, which should be the way that it is when you're going in with a character who is so confused about herself and what's going on around her at this moment in time because of the situation and the context that you have for Callista's family relationship. The book has more of an open-ended ending. It's not all of these things happen, we're happy. It's more open-ended. We don't really get a full closure to the relationship. But for this kind of story, I kind of appreciate that. You can kind of imagine yourself how the story ends. We don't know for sure what's happened though, so it really could have gone any way with that. Warning you, the age gap for the romance is a little bit questionable, but at the same point, for me, I'm one of those people, and I hope this doesn't get me canceled. Okay, maturity, depending on experience and everything that you've gone through, I believe maturity can come through that. And I feel like Callista's had a lot of that in these terms. And not just teenagers going, oh, I'm so mature, I'm so mature. I'm meaning actually having gone through some shit that can bring a lot of maturity in a character. And I feel like Callie has that. So, that being said, the age gap, I want to say the guy's 23 and she's 17. I feel is okay because of the fact that she's so experienced. And also the fact that she didn't even tell him her age until he asked. And he didn't ask for a minute, so you probably couldn't tell. But normally when people are a lot more mature than their age, you think that they're older. So it's a complicated situation with this because, yes, morally there's right and wrong. However, you also live in a small town where everybody knows everybody, and Alex is a great kid, so they're all like, yeah, go ahead. I don't know. Yeah. Anyways, coming back to this, open-ended ending. I don't mind that when it comes to the story. Even though this story was a big part of my childhood, and I don't necessarily feel the same way about it that I did 6-7 years ago, it still has like a big part in my life. I really enjoyed it. But you know, people age. My thoughts, my feelings have grown with that. So I'm still rating it a 3.75. It's still not a bad rating. I'm just saying, like, I have read a lot more since then. Yeah, anyways, that is my review on Where the Stars Still Shine. I think everybody should try out this book at least once, to be honest, to be quite fair, because I think it is groundbreaking in an emotional way, not in like a, you know what I'm saying. But it is really good. I really, really loved it. I think you'll love it too if you give it a chance, hopefully. So, yeah. Okay, anyways, the next book I'm probably going to read for this video is One Paris Summer by Denise Grover Swank. It is about this girl named Sophie. Her father is getting married. Her and her mother and her father divorced a long time ago. He moved to Paris, and the dad's getting remarried. So she's going to Paris for the summer to go spend time with her dad and obviously get to know his new wife to be and her stepsister. And through this summer, she meets a kid named Matthew, and they become friends, and then they form romantic attachments. Okay, I loved this book. This is my second favorite in this list. The third book I'm kind of on, but I still liked it, but it's just memorable to me. I remembered the third book that I'm gonna show you in a little bit. However, these two are my top faves. Okay, top faves. So this is the one I'm gonna be reading next, One Pair of Summer by Denise Grover Swan. And we'll see how I feel about this one now that I haven't read it for years. So I'm super excited, and I will let you know when I start it. I'm probably not going to start it yet because I do want to read a few pages of Crescent City 1 first. But we'll get to this. I promise. Alright guys, so I officially started One Pair of Summer by Denise Grover Swan. And right now, I'm feeling a lot more connected to it, which I feel like is going to be a ongoing thing with these books, that I'm just I see more where the characters are coming from in their teenager-ish anger when it comes to family. And also because I'm older now, I kind of recognize the emotions that they're going through. When I was younger, I didn't really understand half of the stuff that I was reading in these books. So Sophie, her father got a divorce a year ago. He stopped coming home. Now, most recently, they found out the dad is getting remarried and that they're having a wedding a month ago. There was no easing into the situation. The dad told Sophie and her brother, Eric, basically, we're going to bring you guys down for the summer. You guys are going to acquaint yourself with my new family. And essentially, that's how it's going to go. And, that is kind of a tough situation to be brought into, especially when you're not really brought into it with ease. You've left all of a sudden being a father. And I think the father has good intentions. Well, I've read the book before, so I can say that the father has good intentions. It's just the way that he went about doing it that you can understand the children's angst towards the situation, their feelings, more so everything in regards to just the family situation at home with the mom, the dad, the stepmom that's now coming into the family along with her stepdaughter, that we don't really know much about yet, considering where I've stopped, page 34 right now, but things that I know are going to come into play later on when I read more of the book. But yeah, definitely a reoccurring theme is that I'm going to be able to tell you a lot of things that I feel more connected to, or I'm able to relate to in terms of family. And also, again, with the fact that I'm looking at these books with a different lens because I am older. I am more understanding of the fact of the emotions that the characters are going through, situations that characters are being put in. Whereas when I was younger, I just kind of took in the information, was like, oh, okay, continue to read. That being said, I'm going to keep reading for a little bit longer. Probably not much longer, though. I'll probably be able to hit maybe page 60 before I got to put the book down because my boyfriend is coming over for the night. But yeah, I'm going to try to read as much as I can before he gets here, and then essentially just give you guys updates either tomorrow. Well, no, not tomorrow. I probably won't update tomorrow because I'll still be here. But the next time I pick up the book, I'll tell you my thoughts because I'll probably update you around like the halfway point. Yeah. So we'll probably just see a lot more differences in the way my adult eye looks at things rather than my child eye. Yeah. Yes. So I'm going to keep reading. We'll see how far I get into it. But I probably won't pick up the camera again unless it's just, well, yeah, I'm not going to be able to update because he'll be here in like 30 minutes. So, yeah, I'm going to keep reading. for this time period, and then I'll let you know how it goes the next time I pick up the camera, what point I got to, what are my thoughts. Alright guys, so I have officially finished, as of like 10 minutes ago, One Paris Summer by Denise Grover Swank. I am going to say I rated it 4 stars. I really loved it. For a YA book, this was one of the better ones I've read, for sure. I really adore the romance. I feel like the romance was well done. You could feel the chemistry throughout it. Now, keep in mind that these are literal teenagers. So, with the whole Sophie being 16, which is our main character, and she's going through all of these life problems with her parents being divorced and the whole drama of what goes into that and what entails when she goes to see her dad in Paris and he's getting remarried. Sophie is definitely going through her own set of emotions, and of course, like, understandably so, but also at the same time, I'm also like, wow, we really think we know everything when we're that age, right? And so, yes, it was reasonable for her to see things the way that she did, but also at the same point, she didn't take a step back and look back at herself. But at the same time, I can't really fault her because those are just human emotions, right? I feel like the human emotions were done very well. It was just more so the fact of that is crazy. Because as kids, we don't really necessarily look at the bigger picture when we're going through something like that. We kind of just believe the bias of what we already believe, what fits our own view of narration. So that being said, that's how I kind of felt how Sophie dealt with a lot of things. Eric, her older brother, is slightly older. He remembers a little bit more when it comes to like the family history because obviously he's older. He was there for a lot more of the parents' marriage than Sophie was. So it was kind of just crazy to see the differences in age when it comes to the feelings of emotion and stuff, and also just personalities. And then plus you've got our stepsister's personality and feelings. So we're really just getting a mix of how a divorce and remarriage can affect multiple kids. Which Cammy is definitely the one that took it the hardest, I feel, personally, because her father actually died. So there's more that goes into it with that. Yeah. This whole book, though, I had a fun time with. It was nostalgic, for sure, because obviously I didn't read this one as much as I read the first book that I read, Where the Stars Still Shine. However, I still really love this book, okay? I remembered less of what happened in this one than I did that one. That one I reread multiple times. I know that book inside and out, front to back. So this one, I was kind of a little bit surprised at everything in the normal way. Yes, I was able to like pinpoint things and predict some things that were going to happen because obviously, hello, I've read it before, but there were still some things that I was shocked by that I didn't remember because I read it so long ago. But again, romance was great, chemistry was great. I really felt the emotions that were going into this. And then also, it's just well written. It's well written, okay? I think so, anyways. You might have a different opinion if you read it, which I looked at the reviews. Some people felt different, which is fine. We all feel differently about books. We're not going to have the same opinions about books, which I love because you get other people's viewpoints. But I think it was good. I miss this kind of style of writing, for sure, the way that she writes her books. Especially like within the YA genre, I feel like we don't really get that anymore. So yeah, I'm done with reading this one. Really enjoyed it. I had a good time. I've been reading it in like huge chunks every day. So if that tells you anything, I really just wanted to keep going and keep reading. And I just loved the softness of the romance. You could really feel the love. Okay. And also, normally when you're writing a story, some of the characters can feel a bit of the same because of the fact that it is one person writing all of these characters, right? So obviously there's going to be some, like, I don't know the word for it, but some characters sometimes feel the same. This, I did not feel this way. You could distinctly tell the difference between every single one of the characters. With the French people that are in this book, I feel like you could distinctly see the culture difference, especially when you're looking at, I'm going to butcher his name because his name is French, which is the main male. And that she did a pronunciation thing in the book, but I'm sure I'm gonna butcher it. It's like Matthew, but it's Mathieu, so it's like Matthew. I don't know, Matthew. That's how I'm gonna go with it. Matthew. I don't know. Okay, but you can distinctly tell the difference between his personality in terms of his French teenager person and then Sophie's American teenager. It just felt well done. Okay. And also, Denise Grover Swank does like an excellent job, I feel, of describing like the architecture in Paris, which is great. I feel like she did research going into this book, and if that is not dedication, I do not know what is, because I feel like a lot of people should do that when they're writing books on things they may or may not know about. Okay, I don't know if Denise Grover Swank has like a connection to France, Paris, whatever, but actually, we could find out. Is there an about the author page? Is there? No, there is not. Okay, I don't know. But I do know I had a fun time reading this. So if you're looking for fun summer romance thing, you'll really like it. It's cute YA, doesn't really, it's for a fun time. You know, you're having a good time, there's chemistry, it's great. And this is the end for this. I am going to pick up the last book of this reading challenge thing that I'm doing. Well, it's not even really a challenge. This is more so purely for my own amusement. But I will be grabbing the next book that I'm going to read for this video. The last book I'm going to be reading for this video is Royally Lost by Angie Stanton. I do not remember anything about this book. I remember slight small details that I think are plot twists, but not much in regards to the plot or anything like that. Oh my, this book is so damaged. It's fine. I thrifted it. I ordered it on Amazon, okay, but it was like that third-party seller when you're looking for books, because it was on sale. So why would I not do that, right? This book has seen through stuff, but it's fine because I like it when my books look loved. Okay, so the blurb is, what would it be like to fall in love with Prince? Okay, I remember that fact. That is okay. Dragged on a family trip to Europe's ancient cities, Becca wants nothing more than to go home. Trapped with her emotionally distant father, overeager stepmother, and a brother who only wants to hook up with European hotties, Becca is miserable. That is, until she meets Nikolai, a guy as mysterious as he is handsome, and she unknowingly finds herself with a runaway prince. Nikolai has everything a guy could ask for. He's a crown prince, heir to the throne, and girls adore him, but the one thing he doesn't have is freedom. After staging a revolt, he flees his kingdom and goes undercover on his own European tour. When Nikolai and Becca meet, it's their differences that draw them together. Sparks fly as they share a whirlwind of adventures, all the while dodging his royal guard. But Becca's family vacation ends in a matter of days, while Nikolai and Becca be forced to say goodbye when his destiny catches up to him, or will they change history for forever? Okay, another way I book, okay. Again, I don't remember a lot about this one. I don't know. We will see I think I've only read this one twice. So this one's the one that I'm more curious of. I have no idea if I'm gonna, because I remember one scene, and I remember the fact that he was a prince. There's one scene in the book where they're in like a pool or something, in a lake, in a lake, in a lake. I don't know. I don't know. They're in a lake or something. I know they're in a lake at one point in this book. Okay, but it looks like I'm having like a fun time when I was younger when it comes to European cities. I don't know, with foreigners. I don't know what was wrong with me. Well, there was nothing wrong with me. I just had a fascination with them. But, you know, it's fine. You know, we love the idea of some guy that doesn't belong to your town, and he's like, oh my god, hi. I don't know. Anyways, or no. What? All of these books have something in common. The girl being brought to a place that like she knows nothing about. Like literally, that is the main factor we have in common, and it's kind of like a found family thing, and it's like crazy, right? Not even found family. It's more so like her coming to terms with herself. It's a coming of age thing. Oh yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I will guess. I'm not gonna start this right now. Letting you know right off the bat, because of the fact that it is 3:43. I do need to get ready for work. This, I will let you know when I start. All right, guys. So I officially started Royally Lost by Angie Stanton. I am on page 15. So far, even though I have not gotten very far, the writing, very, very simple. I feel like it's really, really easy to read. Maybe a little bit too simple for me right now. I don't know. I'll debate on whether I can get through it. But very simple writing. I feel like if you like an easy read, you'll like it. But that's just me going off of 15 pages. So I don't know. But I also have to keep in mind this is YA, so books are written a little bit simpler when it comes to that format or genre. So yeah, I'm right here on page 15. I'll debate. But right now it's very, very simple, and it's giving, you know, rebellious teen, the same trope I've read in every single one of these books, which is a pattern, I will admit. However, getting a little bored of it at this moment because I've read back to back to back because I didn't realize the pattern with these books until I was reading them back to back to back. Apparently, my childhood self wanted to be rebellious. I don't know what was with her. Actually, I do know what was with her. But that's a story for another time. I'm gonna keep reading until I have to go pick up my mom from work. And then I will let you know an update on this when I see how far I get. Alright guys, so last night around 12:07, I started the book at 8 p.m. 12:07 a.m. I finished the book Royally Lost. So I read it in a 4-hour period. Technically read it in one sitting, however I did have to go get my mother, so I put the book down, came back after 30 minutes. So I did finish the book, however, in one sitting. I rated it 2.75 stars simply because it was an unmemorable read for me. It is a fun time. I enjoyed it in that regard. However, quit it. Don't tear up my bed, please. The characters were not fleshed out, even though they had their conflicts. It felt like it was very trivial. Not trivial. More so like there could have been more to the conflicts. And I really didn't feel the romance between the characters, Nikolai and Becca. And I just didn't feel it when it comes to these characters, which is okay. Which, it's funny because, with One Pair of Summer, it has slightly more pages than this. Okay? That book, I want to say, was 330 something pages, I believe. And this one is 308. That book was more fleshed out with simply a few more pages, while this was kind of just the barest platter they can give you on a plate. This was okay. It wasn't great. It was okay. And I did read it in one sitting, however, because it was just a fun time. It wasn't really necessarily anything groundbreaking, which is fine. Sometimes you need that. But it just wasn't for me. Okay, again, unmemorable. That's probably why my little younger self wasn't like jumping for joy over it, and why I remembered the other two more, Where the Stars Still Shine and One Pair of Summer, way more. This one was kind of just blown out of my brain, and that's probably why nothing was done in a memorable way, I feel, for the story in that regard. I'll probably keep the book, however, either that or there's a little library in my apartment complex. I'll probably go put it there, or I'll keep it and maybe possibly give it to somebody in the future. I don't know yet. I'm going to figure it out. But yeah, that's it for this one. Really, it was okay. It wasn't great, but it's there. It exists. Yeah. Anyways, that's the end of this video. Thank you guys for watching. If you watched all the way through, I had a fun time reading the old books that I used to love or like or didn't like in this video. And it was more so just a nostalgic run for me, but it was a good time nonetheless. Yeah. But anyways, that is the end of the video. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.